walk us through the impact that a country can have and the price tag they have to put to move the needle on climate change.
Thank you, Alex, and good morning, America. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about BCG's finding on climate change. So in our research, we found that countries can actually take decisive action against climate change, and it can be economically beneficial for them. We started out with a big report done here in Germany, where we worked with the entire German Industry Association and went to lots of detail about every single measure and showed that if you take everything together, Germany can achieve its climate goals and at the same time strengthen the economy. And the fact base of the report was hailed by parties ranging from Greenpeace all the way to the coal industry for providing, this fact base. We then indeed are going to launch later this week a report where we looked at the global action and found again that countries, if they take action against climate change, they can, with existing technologies, mitigate almost 90% of what they would need to reach for the Paris climate goals. And it is economically beneficial, at least the first part of the actions. So contrary to common belief, there's no first mover disadvantage for action against climate, but there's actually a first mover advantage.
So Philip, as you say, your analysis will show that, in fact, it's economically advantageous. It's not free. There's a substantial upfront investment, it appears, that has to be made. Give us a sense of how substantial that investment is for the United States, for Germany, for China, and where's it going to come from?
Well, I'll give you a global number. So up to 2030, it will take up to, a little bit more, than $20 trillion in terms of investment, and a multiple of that number when you get to the really hard parts until 2050. This is clearly, an enormous amount of money, but the important thing is if you invest that money correctly, you can actually strengthen the economy, not hurt the economy. So the important part is to optimize the actions that you do correctly, and then, to reap the economic benefits from that investment.
At the same time, as you say, that is a very large amount of money. As a practical matter, does that have to come from government? And is that really distributed over taxpayers, or is there a way of having industry fund a lot of this?
Well, certainly, industry will contribute substantially. It is important that government provide the right regulatory action and also, in some instances, to provide the right incentives for it to happen in time, in particular as the economic benefits sometimes then accrue to other people than the company taking the action.
What about the offset of emerging markets? I mean, it's great if Germany's in there. It's great if Western European countries are in there as well. But with emerging markets responsible for so much of the emissions, do they cancel each other out?
Well, let's look at the world in several parts. So we looked at it, there are obviously the clearly developed markets. We looked at the mature economies like Europe and the United States, and as you just mentioned, they are taking decisive action already. Then there's China, which is a little bit apart, and the Chinese government is also taking very strong actions against climate change, so it still has to increase. And then there is the rest of the emerging markets. For some of them, given high financial costs, the investments are difficult to take, but you have to differentiate a lot between those markets. If you take something like Brazil, they already have an excellent, renewable power generation with lots of hydropower. They have to work on the agricultural sector. If you look at something like India, they will have 700% of economic growth expected to 2050. So clearly they will increase their greenhouse gas in what they go right now, but they have enormous efficiencies they can beneficially raise and also increase efficiency both of the power sector and of the industry sector. So ultimately for them, it is also good, at least for the initial actions.